That's all you guys need to know. I'm just kidding. I'm not even close to them. So when Matt asked me to do this Mindset Matters Leadership Conference, it's a little bit different than just me coming at you guys with tactical advice. So I really struggled on what I was going to teach, because I can teach everything tactical from Google Ads. That's how I scaled to 2.2 million in 2 years and 4 months of gross sales. But he wanted to do something different, so I really struggled on what I'm going to share, because I've never actually condensed my 20 years of entrepreneurship. I've never condensed it and really thought about what I've learned. But something I want to tell you guys is I've only ever held one W-2 job when I was 15 years old, and that's it. For 3 months, walked out and quit, and I've been on my own since I was 17, and I've only been building companies since the age of 17. I know nothing different. So I think my story is going to be a little different than most, and hopefully you guys can take some nuggets from it, because I really tried to figure out how I'm going to tell the story. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to embarrass myself really quick. Here goes, and then we'll dive in.
My name is Andrew Thompson. I'm an entrepreneur living in Los Angeles, California. Being an entrepreneur can mean many things, but to me, it means creating something, building something. I haven't always lived in the city of angels. I grew up in a small town in Colorado. We didn't have much, but I saved up enough money and bought myself my first computer at age 11. I was instantly hooked. I stayed up all night making websites, programming, learning code. Sometimes, it's the biggest risks in life that pay off the most. And it was not easy in the beginning. A lot of hard work and a little luck brought me my first $1 million when I was only 19 years old. I had a company that made wallpapers and stuff for MySpace back when it was cool. At 21, I was making millions of dollars. Featured in news publications around the world and had my stories published in books. Then, I lost it all. And that's why I never take anything for granted. After a few years of reevaluating my life and making some huge lifestyle changes, I moved back to LA to follow my real dreams. I want to inspire people and be the best person I can be. I'd like to continue creating innovative technology for the world and launching new companies. In the future, I'd like to be developing real estate, skyscrapers, hotels, start a charity to help people around the world. I want to travel the world, and most importantly, I want to inspire young people to do great things. I love motivating people to become successful, and I hope some part of my journey so far has inspired you. Hope to see you on the next chapter of my journey. Sincerely, Andrew Thompson.
So that was 12 years ago. Does that look like a man who'd go and pick up junk? No. So we're going to get to it. And I decided that I think the topic that I can probably educate the most on in my journey is resilience and grit. I have no doubt in my mind that you guys are probably more resilient and have more grit than me in terms of actual work. But where I think I outperform everybody else in the business world is I have failed countless times, countless startups, countless businesses, and still found a way to try another business. I was 17 years old when I decided to drop out of high school. No father, single mother. I was in this special class for catch-up because I was like 8 credits behind. And I remember the day so vividly. College was on the cards. My mom's a different story. So I walked out of high school. Here's my GPA. I called the school a few years ago to get my records. You can see it's all D's, C's, which is actually pretty good. And then you see all the computer classes, AAA, chemistry, English, F, F, F. Anyways, I was screwed. I've always been coding. I've always been on the computer. My mom kind of knew. She saw something there. She did. That's why she wasn't too worried when I dropped out. Because she knew that, like, hey, my son's doing something on the computers. I don't know what he's doing. But when I dropped out, 12 months later, got my first check for $180,000. I was 18 years old, and it was from Google. And when you run Google Ads on your website, you're a contractor. You're a 1099 contractor. What does that mean? You get the full freaking check with no taxes taken out. I had $180,000 check. I went to go deposit it. It took like 10 or 15 days before that money cleared. I remember when that money cleared, that money was gone in 2 freaking weeks because the next $180,000 check was coming. I did do one thing smart. I bought a house, but then I added a party room with disco balls and everything in the garage. It was like $30,000. I repainted the house. I was like $8,000. I was really, really bad with my money. Bought 7 cars. 4 of them were mine. The other 3 were for friends. Paid off my mom's taxes, her debts, all that stuff. I should have bought her a house, but I didn't because she was in a relationship with supposedly a rich guy. Ended up not being rich. But I made $2.1 million by the age of 19. I hate the word self-made, but I was self-made. And this screwed with my ego. I thought I was hot shit. I kind of was at the time, right? I kind of was hot. But it really fucked with my ego really bad. I mean, come on, guys. This is douche fucking lore right here. Okay, so this was the brand new M6 that came out. BMW started the M6 again. I paid $130,000 cash for that, $50,000 for the V6 Nissan Titan. I just made the dumbest mistakes in the world. I got into photography and started meeting hot girls. That never paid anything, but I did meet girls. I bought the nicest camera and all this stuff. And then, of course, you guys can figure what happened. I lost it. Okay, fine. I spent it all. And something crazy is when you own a house, Colorado laws are pretty intense with foreclosure. You could basically live in foreclosure forever, it felt like. I was in foreclosure for 6 years. Now, obviously, that added towards the principal, but I didn't stay in the house for 6 years because within 2 to 3 years, I started figuring things out. I let my mom live in the house and start catching up. At the end of the day, we couldn't catch up on all the foreclosure payments. I was able to short sell it in time. I don't know if you guys know what a short sell is, but if you can sell your house before the banks take it over and it goes into an REO, real estate owned, you'll even get paid sometimes. So even if you're underwater on your mortgage, the short sell, they'll pay you to get rid of it before they take it over. So they actually paid me to get rid of the house, even though it was upside down. Right at the age of 25 years old, I did it again. I made another $2 million, but I was smart this time. Now, for any of the investors out there, I want you to remember, this is 15 years ago, okay? Things are different. This time I decided to rent a mansion, buy a Bentley in cash, bought a Range Rover, and leased a Lamborghini. There's the old mansion I rented, $8,000 a month with the pool bill, hot tub, plants, and gardener in the back. It was like $10,000 a month. There's the Bentley, there's my Lamborghini. I thought I was this cool Suave, Rico Suave guy. The Lambo was leased. The other two, the Range Rover and Bentley, I paid in cash. Then I did something even more impressive. I got into Apple TV's first ever Planet of the Apps. If you don't know or heard of it, it's because Apple's first ever TV show bombed. I submitted a video similar to the hype reel you saw in the beginning to convince Apple to let us on this new TV show called Planet of the Apps.
We live in Los Angeles, California, the city of dreams.
Our app is called Evolve.
It's a health and fitness app that helps our users achieve their fitness goals.
Users will be able to follow along with customized exercise and meal programs that evolve with you over time.
It was going to be Shark Tank, but for apps, right? We had this fitness app idea. It was a really cool idea. We talked forever about that, but the point is, I got us onto that TV show. That was huge. I mean, Apple was going to put us on the front page of the App Store. We were on a TV show pitching to Gary Vaynerchuk, will.i.am, Jessica Alba, and Gwyneth Paltrow. A weird board to pitch to for technology, for apps, but that was the board that they chose. We went on this TV show, down an escalator, it was crazy. None of you probably know who Summer Rae is, but does anybody know who Summer Rae is? She was known as one of the biggest booty models in the industry 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was doing this fitness app. I convinced her to partner with me because we were a fitness app and we wanted to launch a booty program for girls. We were on a roll. 50,000 downloads the first day of launch, company is going great. Ultimately, I learned my biggest lesson here about technology is product is everything. Product is important. I'm not going to talk about that in this presentation, but everything was going right in that regards of the company, of like marketing and growth and all that. The problem was the product. I do want to get healthy, but I didn't care enough about fitness. It was my business partner's idea. I was the CTO, he was the CEO. Ultimately, I didn't care about the product. And in technology, and I would argue home services, the product or service that you deliver is probably the most important thing in the world. You're not going to get repeat customers if you're an asshole like Ricardo, you know? So if you have a shitty product or a shitty service, you're going to have to constantly be marketing yourself forever because you need new customers rather than the compounding interest of old customers coming back to you and you building that like that compounded growth. You're not going to get that because you're a shitty product or service and you constantly have to like get new customers every single month and you're not stacking. But anyways, I've done this again and again and again from the age of 17 to 25 years old. I've done millions of dollars. I blame my father for not having direction of what to do. Unfortunately, he passed away. I don't know him that well. I've only met him a couple times. He did pass away a few years ago. But we can't blame everybody for our problems. I have come to learn the mistakes that I've made. 18 startups. And these are the ones I can remember last night, 2 nights ago. 17 if you don't count my first one, Flaming Gold, because I was in 6th grade. That one doesn't count. But if you want to get technical, I have built 30 companies. And why I say 30 is because you can see next to Photoshop sites and video sites, I probably built 5 to 10 different websites back in like 2004 until one of them started making me money. Then the video humor websites, if anybody remembers eBaum's World. So I used to try to compete with eBaum's World. I have been at this game, this entrepreneurship game, for 20 freaking years. And I don't say that lightly. I have been dying, trying to build the next $100 million, billion-dollar company, and I've had some fuck-ups in between, which we can talk about later, but I've had my ups and downs, but I have been at this forever. I will die trying to make Autopilot $100 million minimum. But anyways, I say all this to say, I have never given up. 4 big wins out of 18 startups, 30 if you want to get technical on how many different websites, and I still never gave up. One of my favorite quotes, and I feel like this is the perfect time for this quote. Success in life is the result of good judgment. You probably have heard this. Good judgment is the result of experience. Experience is the result of bad judgment. So it took me 18 companies to finally crack the code. And I don't know if I cracked the code. I think I cracked the code. Actually, for the investors in here, I have cracked the code. Don't worry, I cracked the code. Now let's talk about junk removal. Junk removal is where I fundamentally changed my life for the better, and she'll vouch on this, or she'll agree with this, because you saw the person I was before. I was a kid who made millions of dollars and just didn't invest it. I did make a couple investments, but I don't know why. I was this close to pulling the trigger on a commercial property building for like $2 million. I was gonna put 30% down, and the cap rate was really, there's so many, I don't know why I didn't invest. So I had to start over at 33, again. And this is during COVID. And I'm not spiritual, guys. I'm not too spiritual. I went through a spiritual phase. But I did learn that business is spiritual. Because you take the invisible and you make it visible. Which, if you think about it, that's bananas, right? So prior to junk removal, I would have digital. I would build out, a website or an app, and that's cool. And I was like, okay, yeah, I took something, the invisible, and I made it visible. But where it really hit me was the junk removal. You remember how proud I was? We had 3 dump trailers, an F-150, 2 dump trucks, 8 employees, and it hit me. I was like, holy shit, that quote means more to me, because Tony Robbins is the one that I got this quote from. Tony Robbins is one of my all-time favorite speakers. He says, you take the invisible and you make it visible. So junk removal really made me see that, and it also made me see that I don't need to be this shitty person, because something came from junk removal, which I'm going to get to in a second, is my entire life I've been this computer guy. I was working on this travel app when COVID came. The whole idea of the travel app was to travel around the world with friends. So you couldn't hang out with your friends or family. Going across the country was nearly impossible. And I had just finished the app, beta was ready. It was ready. And then COVID hits. We were 2 to 3 months away from launch. I kept saying, 2 more months, 3 more months. How long could this bullshit go? It's finally 1 year in. I'm like, okay, I gotta give up. I don't know when COVID's ever gonna go away. I went to my friends and I was like, I don't have the mental bandwidth to go get a programming job right now, because I was severely depressed that my dreams of Gypsy are gone. I kept waiting month after month after month, and I was like, okay, it's been a fucking year. I can't just keep waiting, because we were milking COVID. I was getting that free, what do we call them, Biden bucks or something, free money. And then eventually the forgiveness of rent in California, they stopped forgiving rent in California. And I remember it was August of whatever year. I was like, holy shit, they're not gonna forgive rent anymore. I can't keep relying on Gypsy. I need money now. She was pregnant with our 2nd kid. And that's where one of my friends was like, Andrew, why don't you do this junk removal thing? One of my friends, he had his own problems, but he was doing $40,000 a month in junk removal. He crashed and burned his own company, wrecked his truck. That's a whole other story, but he showed me his Square. He's like, 1 truck, $40,000 a month. I was like, really? He's like, oh, it's just you and one other guy in a truck. You can do $40,000 a month, 50% margins. And he's like, you can do it tomorrow. He's like, you just gotta put on some Google ads or go to Thumbtack. This is 3 years ago. So I did that. I don't know what it is. Is it because I finally experienced something other than technology? and finally went into something that actually required hard work in a different sense, but it brought down my ego, which there's another term called ego death in spirituality. So in the spiritual world, ego death means losing oneself and their identity, like what they identify with. I was so attached to this materialistic identity, and it was junk removal that changed everything for me. I don't know why. I'll figure it out in a couple of years, but all I know was, well, also you, hon, you were there too, you were there. But something about getting into this line of work and using my hands and putting in hard work, because I didn't realize running a home service business is the hardest thing in the world that I've ever done, because it takes two parts. With technology companies, that's one part. It's mental. I remember my employees, would you like some more baba ganoush? Like any meal they wanted. Like we had Indian food one day, we'd have Mediterranean the next day, and AC office, whenever I fired them, they left all like, like, okay, bye. I don't know if any of you guys have fired people with your company. Sometimes they get a little revengeful and spiteful or say some crazy stuff. Point is, running a tech company was so much easier than running a home service business, because there's only the mental part of it. In junk removal, not only are you guys doing the physical part of it, you have to go back home and figure out the mental part, which is, how do I get leads? How do I run ads? How do I do social media? And I'm assuming most people who get into junk removal aren't computer geniuses. That part was fairly easy for me. Like, I could do it with my hands tied behind my back, setting up all these websites with my eyes closed and turning up knobs. But point is, I'm over exaggerating. That shit humbled me. I went from wearing Gucci's to wearing Crocs. 1 year before I met her, my friend wrecked my Maserati. And I remember when I lost that Maserati, because I went from Lambo to Bentley to Maserati, just slowly going down the fancy car. I don't know if any of you guys know, Maserati's like the cheapest of fucking luxury cars. So I was like hanging on by a thread, like trying to claim my, look at me. And what did I say on our first date?
Oh, that you told us your Maserati.
I just had to bring up that my friend wrecked my Maserati. Why the fuck? Who the fuck says that? Who cares? Cool, big dick Andrew. So anyways, something about junk removal, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I finally got my hands dirty, like for real, and finally learned what building a real business was like. Not to say that building a tech company, it's got its own problems and its own things that you have to go through. But junk removal, I guess I could say, guys, did change my life. I never knew I'd end up here, part of the junk removal community. So it's pretty wild. There's nothing different about me. I just keep trying to build big ideas. That's it. I don't know if it's in my DNA that every time something fails, that I just keep trying. I guess I leave you with this message, guys. Even if junk removal doesn't work out, it doesn't mean don't try a different business. Don't just give up, or just make it work. You can make it work. Fall in love with failure. Okay, we've all heard this before. Every guru says this. Disappointment will either destroy you or drive you. You decide. Some people take the path of addiction once they fail, and they crumble and they die. Some people take disappointment as drive. So you choose what drives you. One last thing. I want you all to try this. Did you guys know that it's impossible to breathe while smiling? Try it. I'm just kidding. I just want all you guys to smile to validate that you guys like to speak. So real quick, guys. I hope you guys learned something. This is my lesson. These are what I feel like I've learned throughout my 20 years of entrepreneurship. I know it's kind of short. If you guys want to talk junk removal, I'm here. But I hope you guys got some insight into the story of Andrew and maybe learned something of how I see the world. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. Toodles.
Just another sunny